We're back in the depot of Museum Vrolik. For today, our anatomy stories will not be about human anatomy, but actually about animal anatomy. As you may know, we have a really large collection of animal morphology as well, and for today we will specifically look at our collection of gorilla skulls. Specifically, we will have a look at this series of 14 gorilla skulls that shows the dentition of these gorillas. So that means the eruption of teeth at various ages of life of gorillas. And they were bought by the anatomist Louis Bolk, especially because he was interested in human evolution, and by comparing actually the development and the evolution of apes, he tried to understand this human evolution better. Bolk actually bought these series of gorillas in 1925 at a firm called Tramoruper in Paris. So Tramoruper and Rooper were quite a famous firm at the time, and Bolk bought many gorilla skulls from them. They actually supplied quite a number of skeletal preparations and of animals and humans, but also wax models, and the combination of this to anatomists and other scientists throughout the world. The founder of the firm was wax modeler Vasseur, who started early in the 19th century. And it's an interesting note on the side that also Willem Vrolik, one of the founders of our museum, bought quite a lot of collection from Vasseur in 1856. These include all kinds of Beauchene skulls of different animals in beautiful glass domes, but also human anatomy models of both skeleton and in combination with wax. So interestingly, Vrolik also bought plaster casts of gorilla skulls in 1856. That's quite special because the gorilla was only discovered by scientists in the early half of the 19th century and officially described by them in 1852, so only 4 years prior to Vrolik's purchase. The fact that he had to settle with plaster casts of such skulls shows how rare gorilla specimens still were at the time, especially compared to, for instance, skulls or skeletons of orangutans or chimpanzees, who were discovered already in the 18th century and even before. Some 50 years later, the situation had changed completely, because by then many gorilla skulls and skeletons had found their way to zoological and anatomical museums throughout the world. And these about 60 skulls in Bolk's collection are a good example of this. So what was so special about this series of 14 skulls? Well, if you look at this juvenile gorilla skull, we can see that both in the upper and the lower jaw the bone has been removed in order to show not only the roots of, in this case, the deciduous teeth or milk teeth, but also to show the various permanent teeth that are already lying there, in a certain sense waiting to erupt sometime later. And of course you would not see this in adult gorilla skulls, but still it's nice to see that whole development going on there. Realizing that this is a juvenile gorilla skull, the skull of a young gorilla, and that these are all gorilla skulls of various ages, that makes you think that in order to get this series of 14 skulls, probably a whole family group, or maybe even more family groups, had to be killed. And that is a kind of a sad thing to realize as well, that in order to create science, or for the better good of science at the time, it was believed that all these animals had to be shot and brought to the laboratories of Europe. Bolk himself had a double morale in this. That is shown by what he wrote about getting funding for this collection. Because the collection of 14 skulls cost about 2,000 guilders, he didn't have that amount of money, so he had to apply for funding, extra funding from the Amsterdam University Society. And one of his arguments was as follows, and I will read. Now it is a very regrettable fact that this already rarest of the great apes, which does not belong to the so-called protected species like the orang, because it does not occur in an English colony, but in a French and Belgian colony, is facing an extinction process. It increasingly retreats itself into the jungles of a part of Central Africa, and its numbers are decreasing every year. The complete eradication of this interesting form is therefore only a matter of time. It is for this reason that I have tried throughout my professorship to purchase skulls of this great ape for the Anatomy Museum of the university. So far, I have succeeded in obtaining 50 of these. So on the one hand, he is acknowledging the extinction process, but on the other hand, he's speeding up this process by buying more skulls. Luckily for us today, there are still gorillas in the wild. But although they are protected now, unlike the situation back in the time of Bolk, their numbers are still declining. Since Bolk received this collection of gorilla skulls, new species of great apes have been discovered. An example is, for instance, the bonobo that was described by scientists for the first time only in 1929. But also we now know that there is not one species of gorilla, but actually that there are two. It may well be the case that Bolk's collection of gorilla skulls contains skulls from populations or subspecies of gorilla that are now extremely rare or almost extinct in the wild. And that makes this collection of gorilla skulls all the more valuable. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, please write them down below. And of course, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you next time.